here. Yeah. Okay, today we're going to talk about three different people. We're going to talk about a guy by the name of Jacob. We're going to talk about a guy by the name of Esau, and we're going to talk about a guy by the name of Jeff. That's the most handsome one out of all of them. And anyway, you know what? He knows that I'm good looking. He tells everybody that all the time. And then comes here. Anyway, moving on. So let's get the ball rolling. I want to fly through all this stuff because I'm hoping that there's going to be some questions. I've been praying that there's going to be some questions. So let's open our Bibles to Genesis chapter 32. That's where we're going to get the ball rolling today. I'm reading out of the English Standard Version. That's kind of the normal version of what I'll be using most of the time. You don't have to buy one or anything like that. You can just listen to what it is I have to say. Starting at verse 22. The same night he arose and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 children. Right away when I read that, I'm like, this dude's crazy. He's got 2 wives, which actually isn't bad for Bible times. He's a little behind the boat. He's got 2 female servants and 11 children. Wow. And crossed the ford of the Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream and everything else that he had. And Jacob was left alone. And a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the day has broken." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." Then he said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed." You've fought with God and with man and have prevailed. Then Jacob, where am I? Then Jacob asked him, "Please tell me your name." But he said, why is it that you ask my name?" And there he blessed him. So Jacob called the name of the palace Peniel, saying, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered." The sun rose upon him as he passed Peniel, limping because of his hip. Therefore, to this day, the people of Israel do not eat the sinew. That's actually how you pronounce it, the sinew of the thigh. I actually have no idea. That is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip in the sinew on the thigh. Have you ever noticed that relationships, whether it be your relationship with God, whether it be your relationship with your girlfriend, whether it be relationships with friends, with buddies, with what do you call girls that are friends? Just friends? Whatever. Have you ever noticed that it's pretty much a disaster most of the time? That sometimes you're like totally getting along, and then the next minute it can totally turn and you're not getting along. Guys, you know this, right? When you're dating a girl and you're hanging out with her and the night's going fine, and then you have absolutely no idea what it is you said, but man, is she teeing off on you something awful, and you go home and you're like, what was that? Right? I mean, it's a disaster. It's totally messy. It's totally, we don't understand each other. Girls think they have dudes figured out, and they do not. And guys, we think that we don't think that. We know that we'll never figure it out, because they honestly, and I'm just talking as a man, they will just set off. I've walked through the door of my house before, once in my life. This never really happens. It's very rare that I walk through the door and woof, like I haven't even been home, I haven't said anything, I haven't done anything, and wow, like it's battle royal time, right? And you're like, I don't even know how to fight this battle because I don't even know what I did. It's like that, whether you're married, whether you're a girlfriend or a boyfriend or just buddies and friends and your parents, and every relationship that we have is like this dysfunctional, crazy thing that we never know really what is going to happen. That's part of what makes it kind of cool. Because we're always kind of on the edge in life. We always don't really know what's going to happen. But a lot of times we're really not comfortable with that, right? We don't like to be on the edge too much because we've got to know what's happened. We got to know what is going to happen, what's next. And the beauty of relationships is that they're so unknown. There's so much trust that has to be put into a relationship, especially a marriage or a dating relationship. Or you have like that total psycho moment, where you're just not trusting that person anymore, but you're not sure if you can trust that person or not, and you're bouncing back and forth in your mind because your girlfriend just went to a party without you, and now you're like freaking out because there might be a guy that might hit on her, because we all know what guys are like. Or your girlfriend's freaking out because you went to a party, and she's freaking out because she doesn't trust any of the girls that are there. But she says she trusts you, though. But does she? Because if she's freaking out, or if he's freaking out, or so on and so forth, do they really actually, to the core, trust you? Relationships are a disaster. They're hilariously messy. But yet we want to keep them clean. We got to make it all look prim and proper. We do this in the church so much, right? Where we have to make our Christianity, we have to make our relationship with Jesus this prim and proper thing. But it's all a facade. It's all us being total fakers. Because the bare bones of relationships is they're all over the map. You can be the greatest Christian in the world, and your relationship with Jesus is all over the map. It's the core of relationships. It's the way they are. I love to read my Bible, but there's days where I'm like, I just don't want to. And I'm paid to do it and everything, right? But that doesn't count. Our relationships are a really messy thing. And in our marriage, we have distrust and we have jealousy. And in our relationships, dating or not, we have jealousy and we have deception that happens. How many people know that guy or that girl that always inflates everything they tell you? It's like if they got a speeding ticket for, doing 55 in a 50 zone, they got a speeding ticket for doing 85 in a 50 zone. And the story progressively grows, you know what I'm saying? Or if they, we'll use hockey for example. If they were a mediocre hockey player, by the time they're in their mid-20s, they were Wayne Gretzky himself. Where we always have to take who we are as a person, and we always have to expand on it because we got to impress people, because we got to show people that we're competent at what we do, or because we have to in some way or another fit into our culture to fit the mold of who we're supposed to be, whether it's with sports, whether it's with intelligence, whether it's with fast cars, or whether it's with sewing. I don't know, whatever girls are into. We always have to build ourselves up. And I often wonder when people watch and I hear people talking amongst each other, and I hear most of the BS that's coming out of their mouths, because I'm sitting there going, like, this can't possibly be true. Like, I know Wayne Gretzky doesn't live in Simcoe, but this dude seems to think he is. And you hear and you listen to people, and you're like, probably 80% of what they're saying is true, but there's always that 20%. There's always that little nudge of making it better than it really was, because it makes you look better than you really are, and so on and so forth. And I always wonder why. Like, why do we do that? I think there's two reasons. One is the obvious reason: we want to look better. We want people to respect us. We want people to look up to us. We want to look cool. We want to seem cool. The other reason is because we actually want to love ourselves a little more than we actually do. Because deep down, we all have insecurities. Deep down, we all have something that we're not secure about, and it's usually those things that we tend to blow up in our lives. I know a guy that I grew up with that honestly, I'm not 100% sure that he can tell the truth. Like he not just blows things up, he just blatantly lies. And you will catch him in the lie, and he is so convinced that he's not lying that he will go on and on and on and on. And you're like, dude, I know that that's not true.